Yeah, so y'all is listening to K-Tam Radio. This is Nacho the Squat Show. This is K-Tam Radio. Coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest. Knife, Tomahawk, X, and Mercedes. Radio. We is gonna explore right now. This is called Black Scout Survival. K-Tam Radio is your source for history of this time, for when all y'alls can get together and relay this message to young's ears to receive, to understand what's going on with your government, with your freedom, and with your status of life. This is Nacho the Squatcho. This is What the Wild, brought to you by What the Wild Things Do. And Rita Steel Radio. Coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest. Without further ado, let's get to the show.
FBI counterterrorism training, okay? And got this, listen close. Sleeper cells are activating inside the U.S. At the exact same time, the swamp suddenly solves a 4-year-old pipe bomber case. That's not coincidence. That's what you call choreography. And you're going to see the pattern before this video is over. So let's begin. The cells are awakening, man. Another Afghan national, another ISIS-K affiliate, another refugee brought in under the Biden administration. But this wasn't just some dude with bad intentions. This one, John Shah Safi, was tied to ISIS-K at the structural level. He wasn't on the fringe. He wasn't a sympathizer. He was embedded. He comes in just like the other ones under Operations Allies Freedom, a program that was supposed to save interpreters, but instead it became a funnel for unvetted adult males slipping through the cracks. This is the third one in a week's time.
Twisted Tea is a refreshing hard iced tea made with real brewed tea.
Pardon you guys, there's always stupid commercials that I gotta pause or cut through. Thank you so much. You're listening to Black Scout Survival on my little radio show.
So ICE released these details about it. This is the third one in a week's time. So ICE released these details about it. He arrived, vetted. He lived quietly. He blended in, and he stayed off the radar. And this is exactly what ISIS-K doctrines teach. They embed, wait, activate only when instructed, right? You want to know how I know? Because years ago when I was in the Marine Corps, I went through the FBI counterterrorism training, okay? And got this coin to prove it. Now, this is before I realized the FBI was completely corrupt, but anyway. But what I saw in this anti-terrorism training, so on, was that this is footage I didn't show to the public, okay? But there were training videos of terrorist cells already here in the U.S. Now, this was like right, after 9/11, hidden, dormant, waiting, like real footage. I saw it. And these men, they don't roll in squads. They don't stand out. They don't post flags online. They blend in. Now, the guy the other day was posting online, but the one we saw the week before, the the initial one, was part of the CIA Zero unit. Usually they wait. And here's the truth the government will never tell you. We don't catch the dangerous ones. We only catch the sloppy ones. Or when the dangerous ones do something like we saw up in D.C. The ones who talk too much, the ones that make mistakes, the ones who break the discipline, that's the ones we catch. The real threats the disciplined ones, they're still out there. And we have to ask ourselves, how many more were brought in under the same jet load? Okay. We also had the wide open border, zero vetting there, mass importation of fighting age males from hostile regions all over the world. Do you think that was an accident? Or do you think it's maybe preparation? Because these arrests aren't isolated. They're not. This is a pattern, a rhythm, a pulse. Cells are activating. And now, right as the threat pictures take shape, the swamp drops the next little performance. Maybe the system brought them here wanting to activate them, wanting to cause chaos in America by way of using terrorists on our own American soil. Maybe from the deep state American intel agencies. They may have had a hand in this. What we're seeing is called activation signals. And right now we're hitting all of them, okay? The pattern usually looks something like this. You have stage 1, in bed. Stage 2, sleep, okay? Sleep is them working random jobs or going day to day, not really stirring up any problems in America. Stage 3 is signal received. Stage 4 is to prepare. Stage 5, attempt and opt. Stage 6, either execute or get caught being sloppy. We're at stage 3 and 4 across the country right now. And this is not paranoia. This is structure of modern asymmetric warfare. You don't need divisions. You don't need uniforms. You don't need training camps. You don't need Red Dawn. All you need is 20 to 50 men scattered across the U.S., each waiting for the message. And that's how you'll destabilize a nation. And just out of nowhere, after 4 years of no suspects, no leads, no footage, no ability to enhance the clearest CCTV system on Earth, right? We get the bomber fiasco, okay? The swamp suddenly says, you know what, guys? Oh, hey, we solved this. Here's your guy. Case closed. You got to give me a break. This is
heavy police presence at the home of the suspect they have identified in the DC pipe bomb probe. So this is a live look from the Fox 5 DC helicopter. As you see in a cul-de-sac, the FBI now at the home of this suspect. And we were learning more earlier as we were hearing from the FBI after they announced that they made an arrest in a nearly 5-year-old investigation into who placed pipe bombs in Washington, D.C. before the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. This arrest marks the first time investigators have settled on a suspect in an act that has had a long...
Did you like how they said riot?
Long investigation by law enforcement and also led to some conspiracy theories. Those pipe bombs were placed on January 5th, 2021 near the office.
Give me a break. Give me a break. 4 years.
When you've got a classic ride, you need...
Hello, y'all. Taam Radio. Please pardon infrequent commercials. We are going to move on for Black Scout Survival. For the historical record, if YouTube or the algorithm or the elite aristocracy lizard people that Alex Jones fights with a flaming sword on a daily basis, calling Ted Nugent for logistics, okay? If that's going on and they don't cancel this video was called Sleeper Cells Confirmed dash they just arrested one in the U.S. from the channel Black Scout Survival at Black Scout Survival. This is before 1500 hours, Saturday, December 6th, 2025, coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest. This is Taam Radio. Please stand by We have more coming to you, heavy metal history and the like from San Bernardino, Nacho.
Taam Radio is KTAM 1095 MF Radio. Knife, Tomahawk, Axe, and Machete Radio. The forgotten dimension of the second A _ all God-fearing persons willing to war for freedom. This is your beacon station. KTAM Radio is KTAM 1095 MF Radio. Knife, Tomahawk, Axe, and Machete Radio. The forgotten dimension of the second A _ all God-fearing persons willing to war for freedom. This is your beacon station. Coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest with Nacho the Squatcho.
This was the moment when officers found Marvin Morales lying unresponsive on the floor of a station bathroom. A California sheriff's deputy who just overdosed on cocaine he'd stolen from people he arrested, which later tested positive for fentanyl. Deputies had to rush in and administer Narcan to revive him, and he was fired soon afterward. But on December 2nd, 2025, Morales resurfaced in the most horrific way imaginable. That morning, he stabbed his 11-year-old son multiple times inside their own home, while the boy's 6-year-old sister hid nearby, too terrified to move. Deputies who arrived described blood pooled near the entryway and signs the boy had tried to crawl toward the front door. Morales fled before anyone could reach him, leading to a pursuit down Interstate 5 that ended when spike strips shredded his tires. As the car crashed to a stop, he reportedly drew a weapon, forcing officers who had worked with him in the past to shoot him. Morales died hours later at the hospital, while the sheriff called the crime one of the most devastating his department had ever encountered.
Okay, your middle name is Macho, but I'm wondering if you ever cry. Has Macho Man ever cried?
Oh yeah.
Really?
It's okay for macho men to show every emotion available right there, you know, because I've cried 1,000 times, I'm gonna cry some more. But I've soared with the eagles and I've slithered with the snakes and I've been everywhere in between. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. There's one guarantee in life, and that there are no guarantees, yeah. And I understand this. Yeah. Nobody likes a quitter. Nobody said life was easy, so if you get knocked down, take the standing 8 count, get back up, and fight again. And you're a macho maniac.
What's the difference between a hero and a coward? There ain't no difference. Inside, they're both exactly alike. Both scared of dying or getting hurt. It's what the hero does that makes him a hero. What the other guy doesn't do makes him a coward.
You guys see this video from a Somali immigrant? He's telling us what's what.
iyo meel kasta wax soo galayaan baa loogu daatay dhalinyarada loo yaqaan mega ee loo soo gaabiyay Make America Great Again ee Taam ahaa ay kala bahdilay dagaalku ha socdo saas ha lagu wado Minnesota na nga sekali. Mereka na nga sekali.
Well, there you have it. They've taken Minnesota, and they're going to take out the rest of America too. And you have got to admire the confidence, right? That is a lot of bravado, especially when you consider that none of that confidence or bravado helped them to take Somalia. And just a quick tip here, sport: if you don't have what it takes to take out a couple of strung-out warlords, you do not want to dabble with rural America, because we got a lot of country boys and veterans that, quite frankly, they've been itching to get back.
Hello, y'all. This is my radio station relaying to you other things. That was Nick Fuentes. I'm going to move on. Thank you guys very much for patronage. Nick Fuentes, I hope you hear this, that you guys are smoking crack. Because since the Patriot Act, all you supposed patriots have not gotten off your ass to do anything the American forefathers said. You can have people like Kyle Rittenhouse, the January 6th dude, Alex Jones, my hero Joe X. You can have all these fighting banditos and Robin Hoods of our time, and who don't care about getting demonetized, and yuns, when they get in trouble, when they get incarcerated, when they get their rights plugged out from their ass, the God-given innate rights, yuns don't do what the forefathers of America said. Yuns don't do what Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, Ted Nugent, or Mike Hagar from the video game Final Fight said to what would Jesus do at St. Constantine. Get off your ass and go turn some tables over, go take some casualties, and go water the liberty, but yuns don't do that. Yuns lopping your tactical, yuns lopping your patriotism, but when shit really hits the fan, you're just gonna stay there and wait for Jason Aldean to lead the charge when Big Brother's supposedly finna come to your small town. But yuns don't initiate. But on the other hand, the libtards, the Antifas, the un-Americans, when some bum dies, they use that as political leverage to start a riot. And when yuns defend yourself with the Second Amendment and you peel they wig, then yuns get hit with all these legalities that supposedly yuns state that you don't have the constitutional right for your life, that you're not allowed. Yuns supposedly not allowed to stand your ground. Yuns got a duty to retreat. Supposedly all your valuables ain't worth the life of nefarious life when they is fixing for some hardcore Dixon by taking the gamble with their life, trying to take all your valuables, and you gotta hide your wife and hide your kids. But yuns got the Second Amendment. Yuns got the right to fight for your rights, and yuns got the posterity and the ancestry to give yuns a God-given right to fight for your lives. But yuns are shooting beer cans in your backyard. Yuns is getting all tactical, but your bodies look like they're full of lard. Yuns ain't really down to water the liberty tree, and I'm spending my time doing what all your other Americans ain't supposed to do by bringing the little bit of awareness to all this modern, epidemical, axiomatic, dystopian, cuckoldic wakeness. And I was here getting demonetized, getting disenfranchised, and I spending my own God-given time making my channel even more banal and not about interesting stuff, like a little bit of them talents I might have that the good Lord's imparted on me, his little behemoth critter. and y'all ain't even doing your part. You're in the Netflix, you're in the incognito hub. You just want to go play golf or shoot your beer cans or sit and watch NASCAR and shit. And when one of your own get they rights peel cap back with some kind of Waco, with some kind of Patriot Act stuff, and all that violation of your Fourth Amendment business comes on, and the government is slitting a little weenie in your little bikini, yuns don't do anything. But when the bum get killed on fentanyl and all that, the left unite for political leverage to start a riot. And when you fight for your right, for your life, you're the ones that get in trouble and get your little gadgets like your weapons and your armor lights and your axes and machetes and Europe taken away. And you're letting it happen because you're some cuckold shit. Yuns ain't sticking up for each other. Yuns ain't having unity. You're just prepping for yourselves. And yuns deserve, just like Ben Franklin said, if you ain't about to get off your ass and earn that dangerous freedom over pacifistic, peaceful slavery, and be willing to lose a few for the cause, for the righteous cause of your posterity, forwards and backwards through history, about them all there what the blood gave us called the freedoms of our God-given rights as citizens of the West. If you're not gonna just like if you're just gonna shove that back in your ass and comply and be all pacifistic and banal and peaceful about it, and not bring them their awareness that motherfuckers ain't getting off the ass, and they own all that tactical for no reason, and that the Second Amendment wasn't for shooting skate or beating your mate or shooting beer cans in the back of your backyard. It was for making sure Joseph Stalin and King George and all them failures of fascism can't get the fuck on our continent, just like the Japanese couldn't cross that big ass pond called the Pacific and land here because you had a bunch of rednecks with the M1 rifles with the Remingtons and the Winchesters, and all those Japanese fellas knew that they couldn't do their little Bushido on a great land called the USA. And us here, Nacho the Squatcho, on your K-Tam radio, bringing them their awareness to this axiomatic, epidemical, postmodern, dystopian fact that is whack. Now, we's here's getting back to some business. This here is K-Tam radio coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest. Your beacon of freedom. I was here for you. I was Nacho the Squatcho, and I love you.
Taam Radio's K-Tam 1095 MF Radio. Knife Tomahawk Axe and Machete Radio. The forgotten dimension of the second A _ all God-fearing persons willing to war for freedom. This is your beacon station. You're listening to K-Tam 1095 Radio with your host Nacho the Squatcho coming at you live from the Seder-filled wasteland of San Bernardino, California. You've arrived amongst the few who have more balls than brains against the world.
Yubo Game Story Piece of Killer Commie Pan Fascist ชนิดนิวเรตติ้งดูคีเสาดิวดูคีบนดูยันกี้ UH ดูกับเมส
Jubogemeisterin, Pisovi Heiler, Kami Kun Fascist Schnitt, U Redding da People do da P on da Yankee da Commerce.
ต้นยูโบเกมสเตอริง
Undervägen Dusk blodblodda hamnprojekter lät ljudingaling stoppa in pungråtta i din enda jordbruksjordgård. Jag ljudda andavergen Dusk blodblodda hantu shake you. Jag i det glömda undervägen. Jag ljudda andavergen Dusk blodblodda hantu shake you. Let Gigi Bingaling put possum dick into your only farmland pool. Jag i det glömda undervägen Dusk blodblodda hamnprojekter lät ljudingaling stoppa in pungråtta i din enda jordbruksjordgård. Jag i det glömda undervägen Dusk blodblodda hamnprojekter lät ljudingaling stoppa in pungråtta i din enda jordbruksjordgård. Jag ljudda andavergen Dusk blodblodda jag i det glömda undervägen Dusk. Jag ljudda andavergen Dusk blodblodda
สาวๆของฉันพวกนั้นมันลิสนินทาเคแทมเรดิโอยิวลูกของไอเวนนั่นลูกโอ้โหยิวแกะ40ของฉันโดนระบบกดดันก็แค่ริเก้ยิว
My hoes and bitches, Yuns is a listening pocket Taam radio you son of a bitch kada fuck you dad on my 40 I'm oppressed by the system just like a da you're
สาวๆของฉันพวกนั้นมันลิสนินทาเคแทมเรดิโอยิวลูกของไอเวนนั่นลูกโอ้โหยิวแกะ40ของฉันโดนระบบกดดันก็แค่ริเก้ยิว
With Nachao Squatcho you son of the abode. Our one-stop shop for cryptid hunt and esotericanente and heavy-ass steel a for a month.
Därför går området verkligen av Squatcho i son huevos jag en stor pinto för cryptid jakt i sitt erikinente en svår avstå av förgrunds.
Welcome to Taam Radio with Nachao Squatcho you son of the abode. Our one-stop shop for cryptid hunt and esotericanente and heavy-ass steel a for a month. I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or take Lilith Slayer to pound town in the wrong-ass fuck-on hole you godless goblin shit stain, and now shall I sacrifice you to cat.
No la habría obligado a chupar mierda ni a llevar a Lilith Slayer a golpear la ciudad en el maldito agujero del culo, duende sin Dios, mancha de mierda, y ahora debería sacrificarte al gato.
I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or...
No la habría obligado a chupar mierda.
I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or take Lilith Slayer to pound town in the wrong-ass fuck-on hole you godless goblin shit stain, and now shall I sacrifice you to cat.
Het Nacho Kiescoa Show. Een oproep tot actie via de vergeten kant van de tweede aap.
You are listening to Taam Radio with Nacho the Squatcho. A call to arms via the forgotten side of the second A+ world mysteries from the abysmal hills wherewith Behemoth will traverse.
Je luistert naar Taam.
You're listening to K-Taam Radio with...
Je luistert naar Taam Radio met Nacho Piscuacho. Een oproep tot actie via de vergeten kant van de tweede A+ Wereld Mysteries uit de afgrond te lijken heuvels waar Behemoth doorheen zal trekken.
You are listening to K-Taam Radio with Nacho the Squatcho. A call to arms via the forgotten side of the second A+ World Mysteries from the abysmal hills wherewith Behemoth will traverse. Ha 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 ha, you Dusk.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bush that no ammonla.
Ha 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 ha, you da some bosh dat doin umbola kuntola sit and suck the teats of pacifistic slavery into the abysmal 4D infanticide of the West because no 2A balls.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bush that no ammonla kuntola นั่งและดูดหัวนมของทาสสันติวิธีเข้าไปในการฆ่าเด็ก4 มิติอันเลวร้ายของตะวันตกเพราะไม่มีลูกบอลเก2 ลูก
Ha 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 ha, you da some bosh dat.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bush that no ammonla kun.
Ha 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 ha, you da some bosh dat doin umbola kuntolas.
So the Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to make a ruling on whether or not people who regularly use marijuana recreationally or medically should be allowed to have their Second Amendment rights. Because technically and legally, as it stands right now, the answer is no. If you're using any types of drugs on a regular basis and they find out, they can take away your Second Amendment rights. In fact, you even have to fill out a piece of paperwork attesting that you're not a drug user to be able to purchase a new firearm. Remember when Hunter Biden messed that one up? That dude was on all the crack. So now the Supreme Court is going to be making an actual ruling about this because society has made a lot of progress in its stance on the chuckle brush. Listen, I don't smoke, nor do I have Second Amendment rights, but here's my opinion for what it's worth. If people can drink alcohol and still own guns, they should be able to smoke the weed and still own guns. Motherfucker, I thought this was America. But the whole reason that the administration asked the Supreme Court to rule on this is because the Department of Justice feels that people who smoke weed shouldn't be allowed to own guns. And I think that's fucking stupid. But I want to hear what you think.
Taam Radio, please stand by. I have to pause and fast forward through stupid commercials.
You only need one thing, and you can spot whether or not you're standing in the middle of a psyop. That one thing is, if the opinion that's coming out needs people to be silenced, it's a psyop. There are psychological operations in play.
Wow. So if you can't question it, if you're supposed to just go along, it's a psyop.
Yeah, and if people have to be silenced or publicly shamed because of their information, and they're not telling people the sky's falling. They're just saying basic stuff and they need to be silenced.
These tourniquet myths are going to get you killed. It seems that every week there's a new shooting, whether that's at a school or even at your local church. Innocent people are dying, and most are underprepared and undertrained. And some allied nations are preparing their citizens for war and wartime consequences. So it's super important to have the facts and the skills to get the save and to prevent harming or even killing the people you're trying to help. Number one, tourniquets are a last resort. Actually, tourniquets can be a first-line treatment for amputations, brisk arterial bleeding, and if you're quickly soaking through your direct pressure gauze. Hesitating will result in more blood loss and higher likelihoods of death. Myth number two, tourniquets should not be used below the elbow or below the knee because there are two bones in your lower leg and in your forearm. But in fact, if the situation allows you to expose the wound and it's really close to your hands or your feet, having a tourniquet 2 to 3 inches above that wound will actually stop the bleed faster because there's less muscle to compress before it pushes on the blood vessel against the bone. And really, in two compartment areas like your lower leg and below the elbow, you're actually compressing the muscle against the blood vessel, and having two bones does not prevent it from stopping the blood flow. And going high on tight on the thighs when you don't need to puts you at higher risk of tourniquet loosening if there's blood loss from other areas, like inside your chest and abdomen. And lastly, you're not supposed to be tightening and loosening the tourniquet every hour or so, even if you've seen it on TV, because instead of giving it oxygen, you'll be killing off that armor leg.
Where are you coming from?
I just got off work on my way to my daughter's graduation.
I'm a drug recognition evaluator, and there's a couple concerning things. I'm going to run you through a few tests.
Oh, I'm not late for my daughter's graduation. I still got to change into some clean clothes.
Towards my
I work 15 hours a day, so.
There you go. Zeros. You were telling the truth. So you're showing a lot of signs of stimulant use.
So I get nerves wrong, Doc.
But I've never given you a reason to be nervous, right?
Well, you're telling me I'm overstimulated, and I just passed your sobriety test. And
now you're getting agitated, which makes me a little nervous.
Am I getting arrested for DWI?
Are you going to be cooperative? Yes, you are under arrest.
I can't even call my daughter, tell I'm not going to make your graduation. Oh, my God.
Try to relax here, okay? You're not going to make it in time. I'm going to let them know. I can't let you know. We have to...
Please, I promise you, I'm not impaired.
We're impaired by prescription medication.
I'm not impaired. I drove a semi all day.
After all of this, the man was, in fact, not impaired. He missed his daughter's graduation.
Okay, so give you guys an example. You heard that story right now, right? This dude, he gets pulled over. He's a good guy, right? He's a construction worker, right? He gets fucked. He gets his Fourth Amendment fucked by some Karen piece of shit, fucking pork sausage patrol, right? And no MAGA, no Republican, no Christian, no whatever the fuck you guys think you are, is gonna pull over on the side of the road and start using your stupid bitch ass cell phone, and fucking start at least trying to help record and do it the legal way. Nonetheless, would you ever do it the way with balls and heart and shit? Because you're all gentrified family men that are kind of fucking bitches. And so, but if Antifa or if like whatever libtards, Democrats, fags, or whatever the fuck you call the left, if some bum dies, Jesse Jackson or fucking AOC or whatever left-leaning political figure is gonna rise their little weenie, their Epstein McGeffrey guilty fucking dilly, and start fucking that person, and you guys won't do shit, you know. But if a fucking bum dies on the side of the road and it fits a political agenda for the left, they're gonna riot, and when you do anything about it, they're gonna fuck you for defending yourself. So all you Westerners that are bitching about your country going to shit, either from morals or politics or corruption or mass invasion or whatever, it's your fault, because you're being gentrified little fucking bitches. And the only time you muster any gumption to fuck with people, it's because they're different and you don't like them. It's like Lazarus the leper in the Bible that you guys have gentrification patrol fuck over, or some hippie looking construction worker that got fucked in my last video that you heard, right? And then you're not gonna help them. Like if some freedom fighting guru on Google gets kicked off or incarcerated or falsely accused, Kyle Rittenhouse this, Patriot Act that, January 6th this and that, fucking some little girl gets stabbed on the fucking bus by an illegal immigrant, lit on fire, whatever. You guys don't get off your ass and do shit. You're fucking LARPers. So all your tactical, all your American flags, get the fucking libertarian flag off your fucking porch, because you don't get off your ass and you don't do shit.
And lost his CDL.
If I showed you my poker face, I would be...
Hey, Taam Radio, please stand by. Stupid ass fucking commercials and shit.
How long does Israel let us stay alive, do you think? That's the big question.
Why are they...
What did you say? Is that AI?
What are you saying?
That's Sora?
Fuck are you saying?
I didn't say anything.
What are you saying?
Huh? Talking about Israel Adesanya.
Oh, well, he loves you. Don't worry about it.
That right?
This better not be about sports. I love sports, but this ain't the day for it.
There was the most crash out ass question that I've ever heard Theo Von ask. And Joe Rogan knew, like, immediately. He was like, what the? It got real awkward. It got real quiet. It got real confused. Not because Joe Rogan doesn't know, but because Joe Rogan knew exactly what Theo Von meant. For some reason, in the United States of America, you can't be saying that shit, homie. It's all kind of sus, if you ask me.
On November 19th of 2025.
All right, anyway, I was about to say, UFC isn't the same back in our day when there was no rules or weight classes, so I quit caring. Okay, so what's this video about? We're gonna watch fucking shit about DMT. I'm sick of complaining about politics because it makes me more fucking unlikable. And then no matter how much I want to give a shit about it, like I said, no other freedom-believing American in this day and age is really going to get off their ass and care. They're just going to bitch and fucking watch NASCAR and drink fucking beer cans and shoot beer cans. The Second Amendment isn't for getting like sodomites and chomo lizard Illuminati, fucking deep state people and tyrants off your land, guys. The Second Amendment is just for shooting beer cans and skeet shooting and not being able to hunt on BLM land because you guys don't get off your fucking ass, you fucking geniuses. I'm sick of it because so I'm like all like viciously hunky and viciously formidable. And like every time I go to a conservative place, the fucking people, they get more of a fucking like dick fit about my like toxic masculinity than when I'm in urban areas when there's like straight up G's that like, you know, like fucking like straight up gangsters are like, oh man, like they're not afraid of me or fucking like pay me 2 cents. I go to the fucking gentrification areas, all these stupid fucking Karens is bitching all the fucking time because I is behemoth Sasquatch creature, you is sapien viewer, and this is, yeah, so fucking it's stupid. I gotta go to these gun stores and all these like conservative dudes with their fucking beer guts and like, oh man, we're cooler than this dude. Like, he don't even have an Armalite. It's like, dude, I could whoop your ass and like fucking and yeah, you had 2 options in my 20s. Either your little chickies are gonna give birth to Colin Kaepernick and Gary Coleman, or they're gonna be married to a shitty factory worker like I was and get all fat and have a bunch of kids without government cheese, and you don't give a shit. And you don't, like, I remember back in the day, us metalheads, we thought it was hilarious that like white chicks are starting to twerk all over Tyrone because those white chicks' dads didn't want their hot chicks hanging out with us grungy fuckers, and now they're twerking on Tyrone, and then those fucking gentrified dads didn't have the balls to say anything about it. But they were all over to fuck with us, dude, because it's easy to fuck with hippies. It's easy to fuck with people that come from like the wrong side of the tracks, or like, I don't know, like fucking low middle class, whatever you would call it, right? It's easy to fuck with them. But when it's the Saracen, when it's Thuggus Ruggus Bone, when it's crooked politicians, when it's Somali pirates and shit, and your own government starts fucking your ability to do anything about it, you still get gentrification patrol to fuck with Lazarus the leper, or the fucking hippies, the skids, the grungy kids, but you don't have the fucking balls to really confront the fucking Thuggus Ruggus Bone shit that your daughters are twerking on and giving birth to fucking Colin Kaepernick and Gary Coleman and shit, and fucking and just hopping on a pole for under the fucking tutelage of Thuggus Ruggus Bone for fucking Humberto, the horny Haitian homunculus from Honduras and shit. You guys don't have the fucking balls to really do anything about that shit. But when it comes to over gentrification, when it comes to fucking making shit too fucking expensive, and it comes to fucking like everybody has to get an RFID chip shoved up their ass and pay all this taxes every fucking year just to own shit or fucking work or commute or shit. You tuck tail, you don't fucking do jack fucking shit, and I'm sick and fucking tired of this shit, man. I'm sick and fucking tired of all these stupid fucks misstereotyping each other and being ideologues, like being way too right, way too left, and it makes social interaction a fucking clusterfuck. And honestly, I'd rather make my fucking channel about shit like outdoors and heavy metal and stuff like that, but it pisses me off so fucking much that people like me are the only fucks that have the balls to not give a shit about being fucking demonetized and bring awareness to LARPing, banal, fucking fake ass patriots and hapless ass oblivious fucks. So I'm gonna get back to fucking shit. I'm fucking done with it. I swear to God, man. But it's healthy. It's healthy. As a metalhead, you learn early in life. You gotta start your day pissed, drunk, and fucking pissed, dude. It raises your testosterone. It burns fucking calories. It makes you get off your fucking ass, and it makes you fucking die on your feet for something instead of live on your knees or live like a banal goober nobody fucking cuck. So without further fucking fuck-ass fucking ado, we're gonna get back to some kick-ass shit, and I'm fucking sick of politics. For fuck's sakes. This is how to survive every apex predator. Is not so the squat, so you is hapless reviewing sapient creature, and we looking at Good Enough channel, how to survive every apex predator, coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest. I love it. I get fly away from you. I love it. Get the fucking shit. How to survive every apex predator out this brief muted commercial. Go.
The ones that are least likely to attack and slowly work our way towards. Start with the ones that are least likely to attack and slowly work our way towards the most aggressive ones on the list. Number 17, eagles. There has only been one eagle attack on a human in recent history, but one is one too many, so we simply can't risk it. Obviously, as of right now, you wouldn't stand a chance against any apex predator, but by the end of this video, you will have the knowledge to not only defend yourself, but also come out victorious every single time. After all, knowing is half the battle, and the other half is pure luck. Let's begin. You have entered a 1v1 against an eagle. Now, assuming you're not a small child or a little person, you won't have to worry about being carried away to its nest. First off, you will need to cover your head and face, as eagles are known to only attack this area. So use your shirt, backpack, or whatever you have to shield this weak spot without covering your eyes, as you will be gambling them for a chance to see when the eagle approaches. As it sweeps down to attack, cover up, as it will more than likely impale you with its 4-inch talons, falling right into your trap. This will be your chance to grab a hold of it, tightly securing its body with one hand and its head and beak with the other. Now, of course, whether you follow up the body lock with a slam is totally up to you. Number 16, leopard seals. Yeah, I had no idea these blobs were apex predators either. There have only been 2 documented cases of leopard seals attacking humans in recent history, with one of them being fatal, and I personally will not allow you to become one of those statistics. You're swimming in the Antarctic Ocean and a leopard seal has locked onto you. First, you must keep your eyes on the seal at all times, as you must be ready to counter its attacks. Luckily, the seal is only capable of memorizing too. Depending on what the seal is seeing will determine which attack it chooses. First, you must know which of these 2 body types you currently have. If you're built like Figure 1, you can expect the bite and thrash attack. If you resemble Shape 2, the seal will attempt the bite and drag attack, taking you deeper into the ocean to drown you. Now for the counter. You will begin by gouging the seal's eyes with both hands, as well as punching its snout with everything and anything you have. And once the seal sees that you're not worth the trouble, it will surely let go, allowing you to escape and swim to land. Obviously, once you're both on land, you've pretty much secured the win, since the seal's mobility is greatly compromised, and you can go ahead and finish him off with body shots. Number 15, pythons. Now, surprisingly, this is the only apex predator on the list where you will have the option of simply walking away from the fight. But I know how it is. Sometimes our egos get the best of us, and we end up taking the fight anyway. There are only a few snakes in the world that are classified as apex predators and have also attacked humans. But don't worry, I'll be teaching you how to defeat them all. Let's start with the pythons. Now, if I'm going to teach you how to defeat a python, I might as well show you how to take out the largest one of them all, the reticulated python. This snake can reach a maximum weight of around 374 pounds and grow over 23 feet in length. If those stats make you nervous, stop embarrassing yourself. After all, are you really going to lose a fight to a girl? Since male pythons only grow to about half that size and are hardly even worth the battle. Let's begin. You've decided to stand your ground against the python. Now, the first thing you must do is keep the fight standing. This is very important for 2 reasons. 1, it will prevent the snake from getting leverage and constricting at full strength. And 2, it will prevent the spectators from booing. It will only be a matter of time before the snake gets a hold of you, so you must control its head while using your other hand to grab its tail and begin unwrapping it from your body. By this point, you will be covered in snake urine, so sliding him off shouldn't be an issue. Once you're free, push the snake away from you, and as long as the snake retreats, you've officially won the fight. If it chooses to return for more punishment, repeat step 1. Number 14, giant otters. Pick it up, body slam it. Number 13, hyenas. In Africa, hyenas are known to attack humans that sleep outside during the hot summer months, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure you could do that safely. But okay, let's begin. You have just been woken up in the middle of the night by the sound of a crunch. That crunch was your leg, but that doesn't matter now. You have entered a street fight. And whether you live or get shredded to pieces depends entirely on how well you can memorize the following information. Thankfully, you were abruptly woken up from your sleep, so remembering this life or death advice shouldn't be a problem. First, you must remain completely calm. Stand your ground, and whatever you do, never give your back to the hyena. Now, the reason you must do this is to not seem like prey, so try your absolute best to look like a predator. But if that doesn't come naturally, just mirror whatever the hyena does. If it takes a step toward you, take a step toward the hyena. If the hyena lets out a cackle, let out a cackle as well. Eventually, the hyena will see that you're not worth the trouble and it will run away, leaving you with an easy win and minimal damage. Now, of course, some hyenas, like the spotted hyena, attack in clans with numbers as high as 100. But this video only covers how to fight 1v1s, so you'll have to figure that one out yourself. Number 12, orcas. You may not know this, but orcas are some of the easiest apex predators to defeat in the wild. Let me explain how these fights typically go. You are enjoying your day swimming in the open ocean, but unbeknownst to you, you have just entered a fight with an orca. As the killer whale breaches the water all around you, you just have to do what comes naturally, which is breaking out into a complete panic. And before you know it, the fight is over. We really are a lot scarier and more intimidating than we give ourselves credit for. Now, I must warn you, if this fight takes place in an unsanctioned cage fight, like the ones you see at SeaWorld, the odds of winning are pretty much non-existent. After all, us humans perform best in street fights, where there are no rules.
Where'd this come from?
The pantry. Where'd you come from? The pantry.
Extra Morbid Facts, Part 17. In the aftermath of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012, first responders stumbled upon a scene of unimaginable horror. One officer later recalled, "I then walked into a room with Sergeant Cario. At first glance, it did not appear that there were any casualties. To the left of the room as you walk in, there was a bathroom in the corner. There was a massive pileup of bodies in this room. It appeared as if the teachers in the room, immediately upon hearing gunshots, began to pack children into the bathroom. Sergeant Cario began to lift bodies off the top of the pile and bring them to an open floor area. He began to look for life signs, wounds, and to attempt to find a pulse. One little girl was sitting crouched between the toilet seat in the back corner of the room. 17 people lost their lives in that single bathroom, 15 children and 2 teachers. By then, the gunman had already murdered 9 others, and by the time it ended, 26 victims were deceased. To this day, it stands as the deadliest elementary school shooting in U.S. history.
The dirtiest tricks pulled in war. A common military maxim states that the best fight is an unfair one. Those on the battlefield will do everything in their power to gain an advantage over their adversaries, sometimes stooping to what can only be considered dirty tricks in order to stack the odds in their favor. These are a few of the dirtiest, most underhanded tactics ever pulled in war. Project Eldest Son, 1967 to 69. The Vietnam War is well known for its dirty fighting, particularly the use of booby traps by the Viet Cong and NVA forces against their more ponderous American and Allied forces. Punji pits, tripwires, and other traps were employed in great numbers, becoming a defining characteristic of the conflict. It turns out that the Americans were also willing to use underhanded tactics to even the odds. For years, members of the MACV-SOG had operated in Vietnam, conducting covert operations behind enemy lines. Part of their mission was to sabotage enemy ammunition and supply caches, but these had limited success, as any explosive used to detonate ammo dumps would often scatter the rounds rather than destroy them, and the SOG teams were too small to carry them away. Pondering this situation, in 1967, Colonel John Singlaub came up with an unconventional solution. The former OSS operative suggested that instead of destroying or capturing the found ammunition, they sabotaged the supplies. He was allegedly inspired by a similar plan carried out by the British during the Waziristan revolt in the 1930s. Designated as Project Eldest Son, the plan involved the planting of sabotaged rounds into the VC and NVA storage depots. The majority of the rounds would be 7.62 millimeter for use in the ubiquitous AK-47 in use by the guerrillas. Their powder charge would be replaced by a much more potent explosive that increased the chamber pressure from 45,000 psi to well over 250,000, far too high for an AK to handle, causing catastrophic failure. This was also done with the 12.7 millimeter rounds for use in heavy machine guns, as well as mortar rounds. In all, around 12,000 of these cartridges were made, as well as a reported 2,000 sabotage mortar shells. Sabotage mortar shells. When on their infiltration missions, the operators would leave the tainted rounds sometimes in ammo caches and sometimes leaving the rounds on the bodies of guerrillas, hoping they would be recovered. They had to make sure they planted the rounds sparingly with no more than a single round per magazine. Any more, and there would be a risk that the faulty ammunition would be discovered, rendering the operation invalid. At the same time, rumors were spread of defects in Chinese-made weapons and ammunition. Documents that were made to resemble official reports made mention of weapon failures due to poor manufacturing processes. And the Armed Forces radio, which was monitored by North Vietnamese forces, issued bulletins urging Americans not to use captured weapons, as their shoddy quality could lead to catastrophic failures, which only added to the confusion. The main goal of the project was not to necessarily kill or wound, but to undermine the relationship between the Vietnamese and their Chinese and other Eastern Bloc allies. The fake reports and radio broadcast emphasized the, quote, poor metallurgy, unquote, of communist weapons. In 1969, the operation fell into the hands of the press, who leaked the story, undermining the effectiveness of the project. It was renamed Project Italian Green, and then Project Beanpole, but was eventually abandoned. It is unknown how many rounds ended up in VC and NVA hands, or what kind of damage it caused, though there were reports of the confidence of Vietnamese forces being undermined, and the relationship between them and their...
Listening to the channel called Simple History, and the episode is Dirtiest Tricks Used in War. We are moving on to Serious History, Craziest 1 versus 1 fights in history. After this, okay, here we go.
1v1 fights in human history. Number 1, Jean de Carouge versus Jacques Legris. We're going to start off with one of the most brutal 1v1 fights in recorded history, when jealousy turned best friends into mortal enemies who end up fighting to the death. It's the late 14th century in France, and two men named Jean de Carouge and Jacques Legris are squires serving under a local count in Lower Normandy. This is smack dab in the middle of the 100 Years' War, so Jean and Jacques often find themselves fighting side by side against the English. Their time together on the battlefield leads to a strong friendship. So strong, in fact, that when Jean's wife gives birth to his first son, he asks Jacques to become the child's godfather. So life is good for Jean, but things begin to sour when the count they've been serving under dies, and the position is inherited by a man named Pierre d'Alençon. Both Jean and Jacques, having been loyal subjects, are invited to join the new count's inner circle. Nice! But for some reason, he begins to heavily favor Jacques over Jean. The favoritism makes Jean insanely jealous, and this jealousy quickly destroys their friendship. On top of this, around the same time, Jean's wife and his young son fall ill and pass away. Heartbroken and lost, and with no reason to stick around in Normandy, Jean decides to get away from it all and goes off to England to fight in the 100 Years' War. Tales of his bravery make it back to France, and when he returns home, Jean is kind of a war hero. He meets and marries a beautiful young noble named Marguerite de Thibauville. Things are finally starting to look up again for our guy. But this marriage turns out to be the thing that ultimately ends the friendship between Jean and Jacques for good.
Or, with Keurig, there's delicious taste.
Epic 1v1 fights in human... He meets and marries a beautiful young noble named Marguerite de Thibauville. Things are finally starting to look up again for our guy. But this marriage turns out to be the thing that ultimately ends the friendship between Jean and Jacques for good. See, by this time, the two former friends haven't seen each other in years. But with Jean back in town planning to settle down again with his new wife, they both end up at a party celebrating the birth of a neighbor's son. They bump into each other and get to talking, and they kind of remember why they were such good friends long ago. I know, like, why are we even mad at each other anyway? Oh, by the way, this is my wife Marguerite. Bro, I'm like right here. Jacques is immediately attracted to Marguerite, and now he's jealous of Jean. But she's the wife of his friend, who is kind of like not his friend anymore, but is kind of his friend again. What is he gonna do? Well, what he ends up doing is actually pretty f***ed up. See, Jean needs to earn more money, so he decides to go off to fight the English again. Only this time his campaign is a complete failure. Against all odds, he somehow survives, and for his bravery, he's knighted by the King of France, and he has to travel to Paris to collect his wages from the campaign. At the exact same time, Jean's mother has to go on a business trip. They all live together in a huge estate, by the way, and when she leaves, she takes all of the servants and guards with her, leaving Jean's new wife, Marguerite, all alone at home. Now, Jacques hears about this and goes to Jean's home. He sends one of his man-at-arms to knock on the door, and Marguerite, left without any servants or guards, opens the door herself. The soldier tells her that Jacques is here, and he's desperately in love with her, and needs to see her right now. She refuses, but as she tries to close the door, Jacques forces his way in, and... oh boy. Let's just say he does the thing that rhymes with the word grapes? Violated, Marguerite is on the floor crying, and as he leaves, Jacques threatens her, saying if she tells anyone, she's dead. Jean returns home, and Marguerite tells him everything. He's furious and immediately files a criminal case against Jacques. But guess who the judge is? That D-bag Count Pierre, Jacques' new best friend, and the case is thrown out immediately. Jean goes to Paris to appeal the case to the King of France himself. He shows the people in Paris that Marguerite is now pregnant. I mean, come on! But this doesn't do much because common knowledge of the day says that it was impossible to get pregnant from... grapes? With no witnesses other than Marguerite and Jacques, the courts say that they have no way to determine who's telling the truth. So Jean demands a trial by combat, an archaic form of judgment where two men fight to the death to see who's correct. If the courts can't decide who's telling the truth, they'll let God decide by shining fortune on one of them. Jacques is also pissed that his name is getting dragged through the mud, so he countersues Jean for defamation and agrees to the duel. Now, by this time in France, trial by combat was considered pretty barbaric and not something civilized people should be doing. But the king, he's actually super into the idea. Like, so much so that when there's a chance he might miss the fight, he pushes the whole event back to make sure he can be there. So, on December 29th, 1386, the king, along with a crowd of nobles and spectators, gather at the Abbey of Saint-Martin-de-Champs in Paris to witness these two former friends fight to the death. Marguerite is also there, dressed in black, as today may also be her funeral. If Jean loses, it will mean that God has decided she was lying, and she would be burned at the stake as punishment. Before the bout begins, official orders from the king are read to the crowd. Throughout the event, no one is to say a word. If anyone does, they'll have a hand cut off as punishment. You can't have anyone putting curses on the combatants and clouding God's judgment, after all.
Chevy makes America's most dependable trucks. Because in a Chevy truck, dependability comes standard.
Judgment, after all. Both men are dressed in full steel plated armor and carry into the arena the holy trinity of weapons: a lance, a battle axe, and a longsword, along with a long dagger. The battle will begin on horseback and continue until one man submits or dies. The two men mount their horses at opposite ends of the arena and are handed their lances. The trial of combat begins, and the two men charge towards each other and strike the shields of their opponent. Both reeling, they ready for a second pass, and this time both men strike each other in the helmet. Their ears ringing, they charge again for a third pass, again striking each other's shields, splintering their lances in the process. They turn their horses and draw their battle axes and charge in for a fourth pass, and this time Jacques swings his axe and cuts the neck of Jean's horse, killing it instantly. Jean tumbles to the ground. He scrambles back to his feet, turns and swings his axe, slicing the belly of Jacques' horse, who collapses, throwing Jacques to the ground. The two men draw their swords and charge at each other, swinging with evil intent. Jacques is the much larger man, and he quickly begins to gain the upper hand in the duel. He's battering Jean, who's struggling to defend against the powerful blows of his one-time friend. He can only withstand the beating for so long until Jacques finds an opening and stabs Jean in his thigh. The crowd gasps as this fight may soon be coming to an end, and Jacques steps back and looks up towards the spectators. With this small opening, Jean lunges at Jacques and drags him to the ground by his helmet. Lying flat on his back, Jacques cannot stand with his heavy armor weighing him down. Jean mounts him and begins viciously stabbing at his chest with his sword, but as hard as he tries, he cannot pierce the steel plating. He throws his sword to the side and takes out his dagger, and with its handle, he begins to smash at the lock that secures Jacques' faceplate. A final strike breaks the lock, and he rips off the helmet, revealing the face of his one-time best friend. Holding a knife to his throat, Jean demands that Jacques confess to his crimes. Jacques defiantly screams, "In the name of God and on the peril and damnation of my soul, I am innocent." What? With this, Jean can stomach no more disrespect and plunges his dagger into the neck of his former friend, killing him instantly. The crowd erupts into cheers, and pages rush onto the field to treat Jean's wounded leg. Jean limps and kneels in front of the king, who's like, "That was fucking epic." He gives Jean a prize of 1,000 francs, worth about $300,000 today, and a royal payment of 200 francs a month, which is around 60K in today's money. Jean then limps to his wife Marguerite, and together they ride in a caravan to the Notre Dame Cathedral to give thanks to God for the long-awaited justice. They then live happily ever after. For about 10 years, and then Jean goes off and dies in a crusade. Bro just couldn't retire. Number 2, Miyamoto Musashi versus Sasaki Kojiro. It's not often we get to see two legendary fighters go up against each other in their primes, but this is exactly what happened in this story when Miyamoto Musashi went up against the most skilled swordsman of his time, Sasaki Kojiro, in an epic duel to the death. The date is April 13th, 1612, and on the shore of a small island off the coast of southern Honshu called Ganryujima, a samurai is silently seething in anger as he watches the sun begin to fall in the afternoon sky. He's a tall, powerful man who towers over his disciples, and on his shoulder, he's carrying a giant 3-foot-long sword called an odachi, a weapon so big, only someone his size could even dream of using it properly. His name is Sasaki Kojiro, a man many at the time considered to be the most skilled swordsman in all of Japan. Months ago, he was challenged to a duel by a ronin named Miyamoto Musashi, and he's impatiently awaiting for his arrival. Musashi is late, and Kojiro is taking it personally. The inconsiderate behavior goes completely against the code of the samurai. The sun continues to set, and finally, a whole 3 hours later, a small boat appears on the horizon, casually drifting in the distance. Musashi is finally here, and Kojiro impatiently rushes to meet him at the shore. Now, Musashi, unlike Kojiro, who is a proper by-the-book samurai, is kind of a weirdo. For one thing, he's super tall for the time, standing nearly 6 feet when most Japanese men of the era were only around 5 feet. His appearance is also very un-samurai-like. His face and clothing are dirty, he never bathes, and his hair is an uncombed mess. Despite all these oddities, Musashi is known throughout the land to be not only dangerous, but also an incredibly cunning warrior. By the age of 29, he had already fought and won 60 duels to the death, killing his first opponent at the age of 13, and he's currently wandering Japan seeking out and challenging the best swordsman he can find to test his skills with the katana. Musashi is well aware of Kojiro's immense talent and knows that this fight will be his greatest challenge to date. The winner today will undoubtedly be deemed the greatest swordsman in all of Japan. Knowing the stakes, he's gone to great lengths to make sure he's given himself every possible advantage in this duel. Musashi nonchalantly steps off the boat looking as dirty and disheveled as ever. He sees Kojiro's face and smirks. Kojiro is fuming after waiting 3 hours for his arrival. Musashi then reveals his chosen weapon for the duel, a crudely carved wooden sword that he'd made out of a boat oar. Instead of showing up on time, he had spent the 3 hours carving this thing on the ride over to the island. Seeing this enrages Kojiro even more. Musashi's not even giving him the respect of facing him with his infamous two-sword style, and instead is planning to fight him with this? Without the standard bow to begin the duel, Kojiro begins yelling at Musashi, scolding him for being so late. This disrespect will not go unpunished, and he unsheathes his sword and throws the scabbard to the ground, signaling this will be a duel to the death. Musashi casually comments, "You have already lost if you think you don't need your sheath anymore." And he lifts his wooden sword into a ready position. Kojiro, now fully blinded by rage, charges in using his signature technique called the swallow cut. Musashi barely dodges, and his headband is sliced off his head. He jumps away and positions himself with the setting sun at his back. The late afternoon sun reflecting off the water blinds Kojiro, and he squints to try to keep track of his opponent. Seeing this opening, Musashi heaves his wooden sword and with all his might strikes Kojiro with a blow to his head. Kojiro cannot defend himself properly, and the sound of his skull cracking echoes on the beach, leaving his disciples gasping in shock as his limp body falls lifelessly to the sand. The greatest samurai duel in history is over in just one strike. Musashi, seeing Kojiro's disciples beginning to go from shock to anger, quickly jumps back on his boat and his oarsman brings him back to the main island with no celebration. Now, you may be saying, okay, that's pretty epic and all, but what was up with the boat oar? Well, that was actually part of Musashi's plan too. He had learned of Kojiro's giant odachi, and knowing he could not beat him with his standard katana, he carved his wooden sword to be 2 inches longer than Kojiro's weapon, taking away his greatest advantage. Musashi had carefully planned every aspect of the fight, from his late arrival, which he expected to upset Kojiro, positioning himself with the sun to his back to blind him, and his wooden sword, giving him the reach he needed to strike safely at a distance. With this victory, he's proven that he was not only the greatest swordsman in all of Japan, but also one of the greatest tacticians as well.
What do you say when a Jewish boy is kicked on a New York City sidewalk? When they're...
Number 3, Andrew Jackson versus Charles Dickinson. Here in the US, we have a history of electing unhinged psychopaths to the office of the president. And out of everyone who's ever been commander-in-chief, I think Andrew Jackson is probably the craziest person we ever put in there. The guy allegedly participated in over 100 duels, and this story is probably the best example of why you don't ever want to get into a gunfight with a crazy person. Back in 1805, former Tennessee Senator Andrew Jackson is out at the racetracks betting big on his prize horse Truxton. He's supposed to go up against another horse named Plowboy, owned by this guy Joseph Irwin. The winning horse was to take home $2,000, big money for the time, and Jackson was confident his horse was going to win. But days before the race, Irwin's horse gets sick and can't run. The men get into a disagreement about how much money Jackson should get from this situation, and most likely, Jackson is being a complete asshole, as he was known to be. Irwin's son-in-law, Charles Dickinson, hears of this and steps in. Dickinson, like Jackson, has a huge ego and a hot temper, and it doesn't take long before the two start slinging insults at each other in private letters and out in public. Dickinson calls Jackson a worthless scoundrel in one letter. And later at a party, he goes on talking shit about Jackson's wife, saying Jackson is getting some guy's leftovers as his wife hadn't even divorced her first husband yet. That one really pisses off Jackson because, well, it was true. Dickinson pops off one last time, writing an article in the local newspaper calling Jackson a poltroon and a coward. Sick burns. And this one sends Jackson off the rails. 3 insults is just too much for him to handle, and he formally challenges Dickinson to a duel. Now, Dickinson is actually totally cool with this, because it's well known that he's an expert marksman with a pistol. Actually, probably one of the best shots in the state. So he accepts the challenge with full confidence he's gonna put that asshole Jackson down for good. Meanwhile, Jackson and his friend, knowing that Dickinson is a way better shot, try to come up with all kinds of harebrained schemes to increase Jackson's chances of winning. They come up with a plan of trying to get Dickinson to shoot first, because maybe they can rush him and he'll miss, and then Jackson would have all the time he needs to aim properly. This strategy did have the risk of Dickinson, not missing, and Jackson dying before he had a chance to shoot. But hey, this was the best they could come up with, and I told you already, Jackson was unhinged, to say the least. By this time, dueling was actually illegal in the state of Tennessee, so the men crossed the border into Kentucky, and on the morning of May 30th, 1806, Jackson and Dickinson, along with their seconds, made their way to a secluded spot in Adderville. The 2 men marched to their positions 24 feet apart with their pistols in hand. The duel begins, and Dickinson expertly points his pistol at Jackson, aiming for his chest. He pulls the trigger, and in a flash of gun smoke, sends a lead ball hurtling towards Jackson and scores a direct hit inches from his heart. The former senator staggers back, clutching his chest. Blood seeps out from beneath his hand, staining his shirt, but Jackson does not fall. Dickinson lowers his pistol in disbelief. His aim was true, and that was surely a kill shot. Dueling rules stated that now he must stand still and allow Jackson to take his shot. He looks across the field and can't believe what he's seeing. The injured Jackson, face white as a ghost, still clutching his chest with one hand, slowly raises his pistol and takes aim. Jackson pulls his trigger, and Dickinson winces, expecting an impact. But nothing happens. Jackson's gun has misfired. Now, dueling rules say that a misfire still counts as a shot, and the duel should have been over. But Jackson, he doesn't give a f*** about the rules and recocks his pistol and aims again. He pulls the trigger, and this time the shot rings out. The lead ball hits Dickinson square in the chest, and he falls to the ground. Though people try to save him, he bleeds out and passes away within 24 hours. Jackson's wound is examined by his doctors, and it's discovered that Dickinson's bullet has broken a few of his ribs and is so close to his heart it can't be removed safely. He recovers, but the bullet remains lodged in his chest for the rest of his life, causing him a lot of pain. Jackson's reputation took a major hit from the duel because, he kind of just murdered a guy in cold blood, but not enough to prevent him from becoming president in 1829, which just goes to show you can be a horrible person and still become president of the United States.
Discover Bronze Series 9 Pro Plus.
You are listening to K-Taam Radio. K-Taam Radio. K-Taam Radio. Stay tuned for some tunes.
Taam Radio's K-Taam 1095 MF Radio. Knife Tomahawk Axe and Machete Radio. The forgotten dimension of the second A _ all God-fearing persons willing to war for freedom. This is your beacon station. K-Taam Radio is K-Taam 1095 MF Radio. Knife Tomahawk Axe and Machete Radio. The forgotten dimension of the second A _ all God-fearing persons willing to war for freedom. This is your beacon station. Coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest with Nacho the Squatcho.
Hello, cheers. Welcome to K-Taam Radio with Nacho the Squatcho. This is Uncle Zorks. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check out our other K-Taam and Riddle of Steel radio series, which will be a playlist on this channel. Yay. Hello, how you doing? It's stupid today. Is too sunny. It's too bright. It's too fucking arid, desert. Fucking California halitosis, heat from the living hell, rattlesnakes biting your fucking ass while you're just trying to take a piss. And let me tell you that today's episode is very fucking special and shit.
Christian Senior, happy holidays, you filthy animal. It's not your time, mother flutter. K-Taam Radio is smacking down all the hoes this year, so be here and drink beer and fight all night for your right to a bullet. Christian Senior, Friday, this easier holiday. When you hear I'll be right for you, in your Serious, happy holidays, you filthy animal. Christian Senior, Friday, this happy holidays, you filthy animal. It's not your time, mother flutter. K-Taam Radio is smacking down all the hoes this year, so be here and drink beer and fight all night for your right to a bullet on your gun.
ฉันพวกนั้นมันลิสนิงพาเคแทมเรดิโอยูลูกของไอเวนนั่นลูกโอ้โหมิวแกะ40ของฉันโดนระบบกดดันก็แค่ลิสนิมิวMy homes and bitches, Yuns is a listening talking Tam radio, you son of a bitch, Kadal, fuck you back. On my 40, I'm oppressed by the system just like a you're. สาวของฉันพวกนั้นมันลิสนิงพาเคแทมเรดิโอยูลูกของไอเวนนั่นลูกโอ้โหมิวแกะ40ของฉันโดนระบบกดดันก็แค่ลิเกยูWith Nachow Squatcho you son of the abode or one-stop shop for cryptid hunt and esoteric and heavy-ass steel a total months. Daar komt weer van Roddy Vetlacher als Squatcho I use in whoever who's in stopping. The wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or take Lilith Slayer to Pound Town in the long-ass fuckhole hole you godless goblin shit stain, and now shall I sacrifice you to cat. No.
Dit Nacho Kies Koeap Show. Een oproep tot actie via de vergeten kant van de tweede aap.
You are listening to K-Tom Radio with Nacho the Squatcho. A call to arms via the forgotten side of the second A-plus world mysteries from the abysmal hills wherewith Behemoth will traverse.
Je luistert naar...
Ha 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 ha, you Dusk.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bush da do la.
Ha 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 ha, you da some bosh dat doin umbola kuntola sit and suck the teats of pacifistic slavery into the abysmal 4D infanticide of the West because no 2A balls.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bush da do.
You've arrived amongst the few who have more balls than brains against the world and more of the same enemies that God has compared to douchebags. This is K-Tom Radio. Do you copy over? You're listening to K-Tam 1095 Radio with your host Nacho the Squatcho coming at you live from the Seder-filled wasteland of San Bernardino, California. You've arrived amongst the few who have more balls than brains against the world and more of the same enemies that God has...
Here are some morbid facts about your favorite stars from Nickelodeon.
Does anyone else wonder why the border between Egypt and Gaza looks like the Egyptians are trying to keep the zombie apocalypse out of their country?
Guys, get hard.
I cannot tell you how many times.
You do da cheapy fee fee and buy da chai na and you da PR American ha 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 why you a da no da right USC a da hun
US ดูยิวดิวนาชีปีซีค่าธรรมเนียมเอ็นไบดาชัยนูเอ็นยูดูพีอาร์เมริกันฮักไหวยิว US ดูไม่ดูไรUS ดูแขวน
Ada you do da cheapy fee fee and buy da chai na and you
US ดูยิวดิวนาชีปีซีค่าธรรมเนี ดูพีอ่านเมริกันฮักฮักฮักไว้ยิวยูเอชดูไม่ดูไรยูเอชยูเอชดูแหวน Other you do the cheapy fee and buy the China and you the PR American.
I have no desire to fit in, no plans to walk with the crowd. I have my own mind, heart, and soul.
Hey, what's up?
So let me tell you about.
This train is.
Bane once said.
Strong man is not the one who never falls. A strong man is the one who falls 100 times and stands up 101. He carries scars that no one sees, battles that no one knows, and pain that no one will ever understand. He doesn't.
These were the last words of some of the Nazis convicted at Nuremberg. On the night of the 16th of October 1946, in the gymnasium of Nuremberg prison, 10 of the main leaders of the Third Reich convicted in the main trial of the International Military Tribunal were executed by hanging. The following are some of the most interesting statements made before their executions. Wilhelm Keitel, Chief of the High Command of the Armed Forces and convicted on all 4 counts defined in the IMT Charter, said in a firm voice as he reached the scaffold, "I call on God Almighty to have mercy on the German people. More than 2 million German soldiers went to their death for the fatherland before me. I follow now my sons, all for Germany." Joachim von Ribbentrop, Reich Foreign Minister, also convicted on all 4 counts like Keitel, was the first to be executed. In a calm voice, he declared, "God protect Germany. God have mercy on my soul. My last wish is that German unity be maintained, that understanding between East and West will come about, and that there will be peace in the world." Arthur Seyss-Inquart, Reich Commissioner for the Occupied Territories of the Netherlands and also convicted on all 4 counts, was the last to be executed. His last words, spoken softly but intensely, were, "I hope that this execution will be the last act in the tragedy of the Second World War, and that the lesson learned from this world war will be that peace and understanding must exist between peoples. I believe in Germany." Finally, Julius Streicher, Gauleiter of Franconia and editor of the anti-Semitic weekly Der Stürmer, was convicted only of conspiracy and crimes against humanity. However, he was at the same time the most defiant of all in his last words. He had to be pushed up the stairs, and as he stepped onto the platform, he shouted loudly, "Heil Hitler!" He then looked at the witnesses and exclaimed, "Purim Fest 1946, an ironic reference to the Jewish holiday of Purim, in which, according to the Book of Esther, Haman and his 10 sons were hanged, alluding to the fact that the 10 Nazis executed that night were a Purim gift to the Jews.
This is why married women fall faster than single girls. Any day. This is a brutal truth, okay? You might not want to hear it, but I don't care. It's actually easier to sleep with a married woman than a single one in today's day and age. And once you understand why, you will never see that ring the same again. Single girls have walls 10 feet high. Married women, their walls were quietly demolished years ago by routine, silence, and a man who stopped noticing them. Here are the 6 reasons why she falls 10 times faster. Number 1, zero pressure, maximum desire. She already has the husband. She just wants to feel wanted again. Number 2, built-in alibi. Girls' night and yoga classes cover her tracks. Number 3, starvation. One real compliment hits way harder than 1,000 Tinder matches. Number 4, forbidden multiplies everything. The danger turns attraction into obsession. Number 5, she's already justified it. Years of receipts in her head already. And number 6, no long-term consequences in her mind. That one time, it won't destroy my life. Yes, it will. If you're the other guy, She's in your passenger seat, wedding ring twisted inward, eyes shining like she's 22 again. She whispers, I forgot I could feel this alive, then kisses you like the last 10, 15, 20 years never happened. Single girls protect their bodies. Married women surrender their damn souls. This is happening right now to men who swore, oh no, not my wife. So if you're done gambling with the most important thing in your life and you finally want to become the man that she craves so deeply, she'd never.
Let's talk about like what the Freemasons are. Do you know who the master builder is that they worship? It's King Solomon from the Bible, because King Solomon built the temple. That's what Masons are. They're builders. They're the Guild of Masons. If you go to a Masonic lodge, they do this elaborate ceremony about Solomon, because he got the blueprint, basically the dimensions for the temple from God. What Solomon did as the king of Israel is he had all of the different desert tribes from the Middle East come to the kingdom of Israel. It made Israel very rich. But what Solomon did is he started to pay homage to their deities. That is what the Masons are involved in. It's based on Jewish mysticism. Nobody talks about this, but Jews in the world are very mystical. There's a very long-standing mystic tradition. People don't realize this, but you have Jews and they read the Talmud. But there's another aspect of Judaism which is very mystical. It's called Kabbalah.
Yeah.
And that is something that is very much a part of their theology and very much a part of their religion. And Kabbalism is kind of where all of the occult springs from. Like if you get into Aleister Crowley, if you get into the Masonic stuff, the Illuminati,
we're going to listen to that over again. I just want to iterate, fuck the Talmud for talking shit on the Virgin Mary. That's the only one woman left in the whole world that, even if you don't believe in God or Catholicism, hypothetically represents purity. So basically, if you don't like Mary, you're telling me that you love jacking off to females getting degraded and destroyed, and you have Tor and Onion and the black fucking web, deep web, and you whack off the horrific fucking filth and those, like, what's that called, red rooms and shit. You're some goober nerd that needs to be filleted alive and your ass seriously kicked by me and JD Delay. So that's what that fucking tells me if you talk shit on her. So I'm not trying to be racist or something, but fuck the Talmud, fuck you. If you fucking disagree, I will whoop your ass. I seriously, any of you fucking Talmud ass fucking believing stupid fucks in the world that want to go hand to hand over this shit, please fucking comment. I love you.
Who the master builder is that they worship? It's King Solomon from the Bible, because King Solomon built the temple. That's what Masons are. They're builders. They're the Guild of Masons. If you go into a Masonic lodge, they do this elaborate ceremony about Solomon, because he got the blueprint, basically the dimensions for the temple from God. What Solomon did as the king of Israel is he had all of the different desert tribes from the Middle East come to the kingdom of Israel. It made Israel very rich. But what Solomon did is he started to pay homage to their deities. That is what the Masons are involved in. It's based on Jewish mysticism. Nobody talks about this, but Jews in the world are very mystical. There's a very long-standing mystic tradition. People don't realize this, but you have Jews and they read the Talmud. But there's another aspect of Judaism which is very mystical. It's called Kabbalah.
Yeah.
And that is something that is very much a part of their theology and very much a part of their religion. And Kabbalism is kind of where all of the occult springs from. Like if you get into Aleister Crowley, if you get into the Masonic stuff, the Illuminati, it all really comes from Kabbalah. It all comes from like the Zohar. It all comes from those, let's say, hermeneutics about the book of Genesis, about the books of Moses. And so I do think that especially like some of these Jewish groups are involved in Kabbalistic. Like certainly they're inspired by Kabbalistic ideas and practices. And I also think that even the non-Jewish ones are influenced by that too. So I do think that goes on at the highest levels.
Do you agree with Nick? Comment below.
Let's talk about like what the...
not to the squat toe. You is hapless listening sapient creature. This was K-Taam Radio coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest. It is Saturday, December 6th, 2025, the year of our Lord. Coming at you live, San Bernardino. Nacho the Squatcho, yins listening this here episode that shall be as uploaded as a media as possible. I need yins to like and subscribe, and I need yins to subscribe so I can keep going live. This is gonna eventually be documented history pertaining around started 2025 for as long as Nacho House's phone is allowed. If Yuns is following me, I do love you for Yuns patronage. This here was them for their K-Taam Radio. Stay tuned at this segment of my history of existence as God's little behemoth creature. I is hopefully, God willing, looking forward to showcasing unto you that their K-bar you's looking at. There's K-bar Kukri, and I was gonna compare it to an SAS Bat Kukri. It's a kukri that was a model after OKC Kukri, Alter Now Company, and stay tuned to episodes like this. The next one actually coming. When we discuss all this big China shit starting to put the American companies out of business. We're trying to keep 1095 alive in USA every day, and I was here to make sure it stays that way. I love yous. This was K-Taam Radio with Nacho the Squatcho coming at you live from San Bernardino National Forest. I'll need you to be here and subscribe so I can keep going live. This was K-Taam Radio. I is Nacho the Squatcho. You is sapient creature that's a listening. This was What the Wild Things Do, brought to you by K-Taam Radio. Knock, Tomahawk, and every celebrating. I is Nacho the Squatcho. You is hapless, listening, sapient creature. And I love you. I love you. Stay tuned. K-Taam Radio is out, guys.
Let's talk about what a lot of people talk about APAC.
It's been their past 1,600 hours. And I gotta go. I love you.
Taam Radio is K-Taam 1095 MF Radio. Knife Tomahawk Axe and Machete Radio. The forgotten dimension of the secondary underscore all God-fearing persons willing to war for freedom. This is your beacon station. K-Taam Radio is K-Taam 1095 MF Radio. Knife Tomahawk Axe and Machete Radio. The forgotten dimension of the second underscore all God-fearing persons willing to war for freedom. This is your beacon station. Coming
Nacho the Squatcho.
Hello, cheers. Welcome to K-Tam Radio and Nacho the Squatcho. This is Uncle Zorks. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check out our other K-Tam and Riddle of Steel radio series, which will be a playlist on this channel. Yay. Hello, how you doing? It's stupid today. Is too sunny. It's too bright. It's too fucking arid, desert, fucking California halitosis, heat from the living hell, rattlesnakes biting your fucking ass while you're just trying to take a piss. And
Christian Senior, happy holidays, you filthy animal. It's Nacho time, mother flutter. K-Tom Radio is smacking down all the hoes this year, so be here and drink beer and fight all night for your right to a bowl on your butt. Christian Senior, this easier volatile. When you hear I out there, I got you in your slap, so yes, happy holidays, you filthy animal. Christian Senior, this is happy holidays, you filthy animal. It's Nacho time, mother flutter. K-Tom Radio is smacking down all the hoes this year, so be here and drink beer and fight all night for your right to a bullet on your butt.
สาวๆของฉันพวกนั้นมันมิสลินพาเคแทมเรดิโอยูลูกของไอเวนนั่นลูกโอ้โหมิวแกด40ของฉันโดนระบบกดดันก็แค่ริเก้ยู
My homes and bitches, Yuns is a listening pocket, Tam radio, you son of a bitch, cut off, fuck you, dad. On my 40, I'm oppressed by the system just like a you're.
สาวๆของฉันพวกนั้นมันมิสลินพาเคแทมเรดิโอยูลูกของไอเวนนั่นลูกโอ้โหมิวแกด40ของฉันโดนระบบกดดันก็แค่ริเก้ยู
With Nachawa Squatcho, you son of the abode. Our one-stop shop for cryptid hunting, esoteric and heavy-ass steel a total for a month. Guys, once we go from Roddy, Vetnaka, Squatcho, I use some whoever who is stupid for cryptid yak is it lyrically in bed and swore on store of the dreams. Welcome to K-Tom Radio with Nachawa Squatcho, you son of the abode. Our one-stop shop for cryptid hunting, esoteric and heavy-ass steel a code for a month. I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or take Lilith Slayer to pound town in the long-ass fuck-on hole you godless goblin shit stain, and now shall I sacrifice you to cat.
No la habría obligado a chupar mierda ni a llevar a Lilith Slayer a golpear la ciudad en el maldito agujero del culo, duende sin Dios, mancha de mierda, y ahora debería sacrificarte al gato.
I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or...
No la habría obligado a chupar mierda.
I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or take Lilith Slayer to pound town in the long-ass fuck-on hole you godless goblin shit stain, and now shall I sacrifice you to cat. met Nacho Kieschool Show. Een oproep tot actie via de vergeten kant van de tweede aap.
You are listening to K-Taam Radio with Nacho the Squatcho. A call to arms via the forgotten side of the second A+ world mysteries from the abysmal hills wherewith Behemoth will traverse.
Je luistert naar K-Taam
You are listening to K-Taam Radio with...
Je luistert naar K-Taam Radio met Nacho Kieschool Show. Een oproep tot actie via de vergeten kant van de tweede A+ wereld mysteries uit de afgrond lijken heuvels waar Behemoth doorheen zal trekken.
You are listening to K-Taam Radio with Nacho the Squatcho. A call to arms via the forgotten side of the second A+ world mysteries from the abysmal hills wherewith Behemoth will traverse. Ha 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 ha, you Dusk.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bullshit, do la.
Ha 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 ha, you da some Boshdat Doan Umbola Kuntola sit and suck the teats of pacifistic slavery into the abysmal 4D infanticide of the West because no 2A balls.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bullshit, do la Kuntola nang และดูดหัวนมของทาสสันติวิธีเข้าไปในการฆ่าเด็ก4 มิติอันเลวร้ายของตะวันตกเพราะไม่มีลูกบอลเก2 ลูก
Ha 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 ha, you da some Boshdat.
Ha 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 ha, you do some bullshit, do la kung.
Ha 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 ha, you da some Boshdat Doan Umbola Kuntola sit and suck the teats of pacifistic slavery into the abysmal 4D infanticide of the West because no 2A balls. You're listening to K-Taam 1095 Radio with your host Nacho the Squatcho coming at you live from the Seder-filled wasteland of San Bernardino, California. You've arrived amongst the few who have more balls than brains against the world and more of the same enemies that God has compared to douchebags. This is K-Taam Radio. Do you copy over?
ต้นยูโรเกมสเตอรี่ Piece of Killer Commie คันแฟชิสชมิสยูเรติ้งดูพีเสาดิวดูพีบนดูยันกี้ยูเอชดูกับเนส
You Bogeymeister in peace of the higher commie con fascist schnick you redding the people do the key on the Yankee the commerce.
ต้นยูโรเกมสเตอรี่ Piece of Killer Commie คันแฟชิสชักนิดยิวเรซินดูคีเสาดิวดูคีบนดูยัยที่ยูเอชดูกับเนส
You Bogeymeister in Piso v Heiler Commie Con Fascist Schnitt you redding da people do da PP on da Yankee da commerce.
Undervägen Dusk blodblodda handprojekter lät ljudingeling stoppa in kundlotta i din enda jordbruksjordor.
Ja, you da undavergen da scriblo da huntu shag you.
Ja, i det grunda undervägen.
Ja, you da undavergen da scriblo da huntu shag you. Let GG Bingeling put possum dick into your only farmland pool.
Ja, i det grunda undervägen Dusk blodblodda handprojekter lät ljudingeling stoppa in kundlotta i din enda jordbruksjordor. Ja, i det grunda undervägen Dusk blodblodda handprojekter lät ljudingeling stoppa in
Vision das Freeblow da Hot Yo Indiglom da Wagon da Yayu da Undavision das Freeblow da Huntu Shite USGG Bingling put possum dick into your only farmland fool. Libertarian axiomatic intrinsic innate God-given freedom in the pursuit of spilling the entrails of tyrants. This is K-Tam Radio with Nacho the Squatcho. We ain't right, we ain't left, we are upward, amen. You do da cheapy fee fee and buy da chai na en you da PR American ha 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 why you a da no da right who esi a da hun
US ดูยิวดิวดาชีปีฟีค่าธรรมเนียมเอ็นไบดาชัยนูเอ็นยิวดูพีอาร์เมริกันฮักฮักฮักไหวยิว US ดูไม่ดูไร US ดูแขวน
you do da cheapy fee fee and buy da chai na en you
US ดูยิวดิวดาชีปีฟีค่าธรรมเนียมเอ็นไบดาชัยนูเอ็นยิวดูพีอาร์เมริกันฮักฮักฮักไว้ยิว US ดูไม่ดูไร US ดูแขวน
you do da cheapy fee fee and buy da chai na en you da PR American.
खुदावंद यसू वो जिद्दी तौर पर मुतजाद और इंतहाई प्यारी बेवकूफ गदा और फेवना नामी बिल्कुल कीमती कतिया जो कुछ भी मेरी जान को मार रहा है ओ मेरे हतमी जनाब.
Oh my sweet Lord Jesus, that stubbornly dissonant and excruciatingly adorable stupid ass and utterly precious bitch named Fiona or whatever is fucking slaying my soul, oh my ultimate sir.
जब मैं इतना बुज़दिल हूँ कि अपनी आंखें निकाल कर खुद को आग लगा सकूं तो मैं असल में क्या करूं? मैं उसे कभी भी इस तरह नहीं मारूंगा जैसा कि सारसन बुत परस्त करते हैं.
What the actual fuck am I to do when I'm too cowardice to gouge my own eyes out and light myself on fire? Oh, how would I never morate her as the Saracen heathen would?
ना ही मैं उसे इसकी चौथ में डालने की कोशिश करूंगा या उसे तेरे प्यारे बेहीमित के नाक के पट्टों पर दबाने पर मजबूर करूंगा जो मैं हूँ.
Nor would I try to put it in her butt or force her to choke on serpentine muscles of thy dear behemoth, which is I. As far as the godless globalist aristocracy has calibrated the system to allow to leak out. Be here to pacify time with morbid wisdom. I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or take Lilith Slayer to pound town in the wrong-ass fuck-on hole you godless goblin shit stain, and now shall I sacrifice you to cat.
No la habría obligado a chupar mierda ni a llevar a Lilith Slayer a golpear la ciudad en el maldito agujero del culo, duende sin Dios, mancha de mierda, y ahora debería sacrificarte al gato.
I wouldn't have obligated her to suck shit or...
No la habría obligado.สาวๆของฉันพวกนั้นมันลิสนิงพาเคแคมเรดิโอยิวลูกของไอเวนนั่นลูกโอ้ โหนิ้วแกะ40ของฉันโดนระบบกดดันก็แค่ลิเกนิว
My homes and bitches, Yuns is a listening talkie Tam radio, you son of a bitch, Kadal, fuck you dad. On my 40 I'm oppressed by the system just like a da you're.
สาวของฉันพวกนั้นมันนิสัยนินทา
Ha, you Dusk.
Ha, you do some bullshit no la
Ha, you da some Boshdat Doan Umbola Kuntola sit and suck the teats of pacifistic slavery into the abysmal 4D infanticide of the West because no 2A balls.
Ha, you do some bullshit no la Kuntola นั่งและดูดหัวนมของทาสสันติวิธีเข้าไปในการฆ่าเด็ก4 มิติอันเลวร้าย
Purveyor of free speech as far as the godless globalist aristocracy has calibrated the system to allow to leak out. Be here to pacify time with morbid wisdom. You are listening to Taam Radio, the purveyor of free speech as far as the godless globalist aristocracy has calibrated the system to allow the leak out. Be here to pacify time with morbid wisdom. You are listening to Taam Radio, the purveyor of free speech as far as the godless globalist aristocracy has calibrated the system to allow the leak out. Be here to pacify time with morbid wisdom.